Matheus Cunha has such a complete skill set that I think over the next 1, 2 or maybe 3 seasons, he could develop into an elite level player in 3 different positions: left interior forward, centre forward and central midfield. At the moment in Ruben Amorim's 3-4-3, you would assume that the left interior forward role in the front 3 would be and always be Cunha's optimal role, considering that's where he was at his best for Wolves. But with Bruno Fernandes likely to play in the midfield double pivot, I think Cunha and Bruno could be used interchangeably, with both players switching between the double pivot and the more advanced position depending on the phase of play. And this is because I think Cunha's powerful ball carrying ability through the centre of the pitch could be extremely effective from deeper areas in the build-up phase. And in a similar way to players like Joelinton, Mousa Dembele and Yaya Toure, I think with some development, Cunha could play the role of a ball-carrying playmaker or box-to-box midfielder in either a 2 or 3-man central midfield. And this example of Cunha playing for Brazil shows not only why Cunha's ball-carrying ability can be so valuable to United's general progression of the ball forward, but why it could be significantly more effective in deeper areas of the pitch during the build-up phase, compared with higher up the pitch in the middle third. I'll analyse that specific clip in just a minute, as well as throughout the rest of this video showing you a plot graph of ball carrying frequency against progressive carries in order to highlight the difference in ball carrying ability between Cunha and Bruno Fernandes, whilst also showing you a setup in the 3-4-3 with Cunha and Bruno as a midfield double pivot, with 3 other attacking players ahead in the front 3 and how it could work tactically. But before I break down all of that, if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to jerseyfever.co. They've got a variety of different current season and retro jerseys, including the new Manchester United releases for the upcoming season. They sent me over this Manchester United 2006-2007 white away shirt with Ronaldo 7 on the back, as well as this Zidane Juventus shirt from the 1990s as well. If you use code ATLANTIS at checkout, you'll get a 10% discount, so I'll leave it linked in the description and in the comment section below. So at the start of this clip, Brazil have the ball in the middle third, and Marquinhos, the centre-back, is going to play a pass into the feet of Matheus Cunha, who is dropping from inside the opposition's half with his back to goal, under pressure from a Paraguayan midfielder behind. But I want you to imagine that this is happening in the defensive third during the build-up phase, with the centre-back playing the pass into Cunha from close to the byline, with Cunha dropping to the edge of the box. Cunha is going to bounce the ball first time back into Casemiro, enabling Brazil to work the ball into his feet, despite the Paraguay front 2 having initially cut the passing lane into him, direct from Marquinhos, which is similar to De Zerbi's possession strategy of working the ball into the player sitting in the shadow of the presser, and could be more effective when done on the edge of the penalty box. And this is because as we see Cunha bouncing the ball back into Casemiro, his deeper movement towards the ball has enticed the Paraguay midfielder high up the pitch with him, creating the space in behind, wherefrom Cunha can now use his agility to turn quickly and then accelerate beyond the presser on his back into the space behind. Casemiro plays a first-time pass forward into Bruno Guimaraes, whose deeper movement, just like Cunha's, has worked to drag the central midfielder high, but this is where we see the resemblance to Mousa Dembele, Joelinton or Yaya Toure, as Cunha is able to get to the layoff first, now having possession goal side of his initial pressing player, before then driving powerfully past the Paraguay player engaging him, now taking 2 players out of the game and progressing the ball into the final third. However, because this occurred higher up the pitch in the middle third, after getting goal side of the opposition's midfield line, Cunha didn't have the space to drive into, but if this pattern of play had occurred deeper in the defensive third during the build-up phase, after Cunha beats the second Paraguay presser, there is now going to be greater space for him to drive into, due to the greater distance between the opposition's midfield and defensive lines when pressing United in their defensive third compared to when they're sitting deeper in the middle third. And this can then enable Cunha to drive the attack forward quickly, with the front 3 ahead and the wing-backs outside, joining the attack to offer passing options, enabling United to set up a promising artificial counter-attacking situation. See, if Bruno Fernandes is starting in the midfield double pivot, even if higher up the pitch in possession in the middle third, Bruno drops into deeper areas in front of the opposition's midfield line, whilst Cunha retains a higher position between the lines, in that familiar left half space position. Specifically for the build-up phase, Cunha and Bruno can just switch positions in the build-up setup, with Bruno holding this higher and slightly wider position with a fullback on his back, whilst Cunha drops to the edge of the box alongside the central centre-back and Agate, Casemiro, Mainu or someone else, whoever is the other player in the midfield double pivot. And when you look at both Cunha and Bruno's skill sets, I think this makes perfect sense. Because just think about it logically, when you're trying to play out of high pressure during the build-up phase, you are looking to beat the midfield line press and then transition the attack quickly through the middle third. And so it makes sense to have a faster player like Cunha starting deeper and Bruno Fernandes starting higher, because Cunha is going to be a lot more capable of being able to keep up and join the attack from this deeper starting position than Bruno Fernandes would be if he was positioned there. If Bruno starts deeper, he may not have the pace to be up in the middle third when United beat the press, but if you use Cunha deeper, Bruno is already in the middle third, and so Cunha's arrival from deep now gives you an extra player in the artificial counter-attack. Bruno Fernandes is better in possession in deeper areas in the middle third when there's more emphasis on creative passing and vision in order to progress the ball forward, due to the opposition's more vertically compact shape, reducing the space centrally, whilst Cunha's ball carrying becomes a lot more valuable in the defensive third during the build-up phase when there's greater space behind the midfield line press to exploit. To me, that just makes logical sense, and that's really the foundation of tactical thinking. Now, from a defensive point of view, nothing really changes, as in the rest defence you'd still have the other midfielder alongside Bruno, say one of Agate, Mainu, Casemiro, or preferably a new signing who was a quick recovery ball winner like Ederson, sitting deep behind the play in the rest defence whilst Cunha and Bruno push forward into the final third. But if Amorim was to be more creative and look to evolve the system further down the line, I think trying to transition Cunha into a more permanent deeper role could be extremely rewarding in the long term, and that's because I really don't think it's that hard to train either Bruno or Cunha defensively to play in the midfield double pivot. I mean, most people would have scoffed at the idea of Bruno playing in a midfield double pivot or Ahmad playing as a right wing back before Amorim came in. And with Cunha, we aren't expecting him to learn how to play the violin here. He's a central attacking midfielder who already has the physical and athletic attributes needed and just needs to develop his positional understanding, defensive discipline, and maybe also his tackling technique when engaging players in central areas. Both Mousa Dembele and Joe Linton went through this conversion from initially being centre forwards earlier on in their careers in their early 20s to eventually becoming out and out central midfielders. But the more interesting question could be around whether Bruno and Cunha could be used together in the midfield double pivot. Now, some people may dismiss this straight away, however if you think about Cunha and Bruno playing together in a 4-3-3 with a ball winner like Ederson behind, I think that midfield trio is actually very well balanced both in and out of possession, having the powerful ball carrying ability, physicality and athleticism of Ederson and Cunha alongside the creative and progressive passing ability of Bruno Fernandes, sufficiently protecting Bruno's lack of pace and physicality. And also in the 3-4-3, if Amorim was to use a central centre-back who is more of a stylistic hybrid between a central midfielder and a centre-back rather than just a traditional centre-back, someone like Anton Stack or even Ederson, who I spoke about in this role in a previous video, who both have the skill set to play this role in multiple phases of play, then this allows you to get more attacking players on the pitch, increasing the individual offensive ability throughout the team as a whole, which could also save United having to spend money on a better offensive left wing back than Dorgu, and potentially even using Dalot there effectively as well, and this is how. De Ligt and Euro either side of Ederson, Ahmad and one of Dorgu or Dalot at left wing back, with Cunha and Bruno Fernandes starting in the midfield double pivot. A right interior forward who excels defensively such as Mbumo, or a cheaper alternative such as Kang Lee. Up front you can go with whoever. I would go for Retegui, also from Atalanta, but then on the left, rather than a player like Cunha or Xavi Simons, who primarily wants to operate centrally between the lines, you could then go for more of a natural wide player, who excels in 1v1 situations in order to compensate for the lack of 1v1 dribbling ability and end product in the final third of Dorgu or Dalot behind at left wing back, who rather than pushing forward to hold a high and wide position on the outside of the opposition system, as we would see Ahmad do on the other side, they can then invert infield in possession, taking up a position in the rest defence, then allowing Bruno and Cunha greater offensive freedom in possession. And so essentially it's just the same possession shape and rest defence structure, but the left interior forward, who would be more of a natural winger than Cunha, let's say Yildiz or maybe Semenyo just for an example, is the one holding the width on the outside of the opposition's fullback, whilst Dorgu or Dalot behind, neither of whom are 1v1 dribbling specialists, are instead sitting deeper behind the ball, which would actually suit their skill sets a lot better, with Dorgu in particular being someone who could excel on the recovery when having to shuttle over into the channel and engage the opposition player racing forward with the ball. And this simultaneously allows Bruno and Cunha to push further forward into the areas that they would pick up if they were playing in more advanced positions in the front three, and if the opposition do manage to break quickly and progress the attack into United's half, Dorgu or Dalot can hold this central position temporarily before then dropping back into their conventional left wing back position in the back five after Bruno and Cunha have recovered their positions in the centre of midfield, with the two interior forwards either side also dropping back alongside them. Now Bruno and Cunha as a midfield double pivot, at least this season anyway, would likely be reserved for when United are chasing a goal towards the end of games, particularly because of our lack of attacking options in the front three at the moment, but I do think Cunha has a skill set to undergo a similar development to the likes of Joel Linton and Mousa Dembele over the next few seasons, potentially allowing Amorim to field an 11 in the 3-4-3 with a higher level of individual attacking ability. So let me know if you think Cunha is capable of making this development into a deeper central midfield position, and if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to jerseyfifa.co. You can use code Atlantis at checkout for a 10% discount. I'll leave a link in the description below, and if you want to get access to any of the plot graphs or any of my articles, I'll leave my Patreon linked on the end screen now as well.